Well, here's what they've got ahead of them today. 160 kilometres setting out from Motril along the Costa del Sol before swerving Malaga to head inland towards two climbs. The first category, Puerto del León, is just under 900 metres. The second cap, Puerto del Torcal, is 950, and from the top of that it's 17.5 kilometres to the finish in Antequera. A good day for a breakaway, and perhaps for Orica Scott to regroup after their attack yesterday, which hurt them more than anybody else.
Neil, mixed fortunes for the team yesterday. Just sum up what went wrong for Adam, Esteban and Simon.
Well, I think we had a pretty brave plan. I think we did it well, but unfortunately the result wasn't what we expected. I think that the cold and the effort took more of a toll on us than it did on the other people. I tend to think that we talk about three guys that probably weigh 100 kilos between the three of them, and with the rain, with the wet, the rain capes to weigh a lot more. And whatever the effect was, they all blew their lights out on the last climb, and unfortunately we lost a bit of time.
You live, you learn, you do. Some things work, some things don't. And yesterday is one of the days where nothing worked out good for us. But not all was lost. We still have Esteban third in GC, so end of the day we're still in a good position. And we've got plenty more stages to try something.
Would it be too harsh to put it down to inexperience in the case of the Yates boys, or was it just too bad, a bad day for each of them?
No, we've had people look through that, and we think that physiologically they would perform well. It's just a matter of they went down the second last descent, and when they started going at the last time, they just couldn't get their heart rates back up again. All those three guys, all quite skinny, all complained of the cold, and some of the Nordic guys in the team, they said they were fine, and so I think it's a bit of that. We could address that in the future. We can say, okay, well maybe we should have had some hot tea at the top of the climb, maybe not. I don't really know, but what we can't do is obsess ourselves with what happened. We've got to say what will happen in the future and keep our chins up and keep on going forward.
There are Colombia's 3rd and 10th placed riders. The country's still on course to put a man on every Grand Tour podium this year after Nairo Quintana and Rigoberto Urán's second places in the Giro and the Tour. 14 men in the break when it formed, Peter Koenig being the day's Aqua Blue representative. JJ Rojas was in there again for Movistar and was also the best placed rider overall, although not particularly well placed, 27 minutes 39 behind Chris Froome at the start of the day. Rojas led over the first climb, then Katusha's Michael Murcu attacked off the front of the break on the descent, and as the other 13 riders strung out behind him, AG2R's Julien Duval came off on a bend. He got back on though, and shortly afterwards Murcu was reeled in. So as we join commentary on the second and final climb of the day, the break is back together and has a lead over the soft pedalling peloton of around 9 minutes.
Brendan Canty, Thomas Marcinski, Omar Fraile seem very concerned, I think, with just eliminating first and foremost JJ Rojas, the man from Movistar, who has finished. Don't forget, there he is right on the back, just hugging the wheel of Pavel Polyansky, who's dragging him back up to, trying to drag him and Rojas back up to the trio of riders at the front of the race. And Steph Clement now has dropped David Arroyo and is determined to latch onto that little group and be part of this selection on this climb. Marcinski has pushed on, and Fraile and Canty are failing at the moment to close the gap. That's a very strong ride from the pole, from Lotto Soudal. And we kind of know that he can go over climbs like this because they were a feature of his victory on stage 6 into Sagunt.
Yeah, if he's going this early and he's got that gap, that's looking pretty good for him. He's played off the hands of Canty attacking and Fraile, and now he's got it himself to really push on. You can see they're slowing down slightly, Canty and Fraile. And Rojas is getting that chance to get back on again, as well as Polyansky. So they've blown up a little bit, and now it's all down to Marcinski if it's possible for him to go this far on his own. Because once he gets to the top 4Ks, then he's got a good chunk of downhill, and it's all to play for now for him. And it's been one of the longest solo attacks and breakers we'll have seen in the Vuelta.
He's playing the role of Thomas de Gent on this team.
These four are looking a bit cooked, and look at the way they're just sort of weaving across the road. Rojas has decided he's going to take it on himself. As we know, this is what I said about Rojas. You know he's going to chase after it, and you have to anticipate those tactics and understand that if you're bluffing around, he's probably one that's going to crack first, and that's exactly what's happened there.
3-time national Polish champion, Thomas Marcinski, dating right the way back, actually, to his first victory in that race was in 2007.
There's an attack from behind, interesting.
We didn't expect to see anything. It's Alberto Contador and Roche from BMC. Now, Nicolas Roche was just saying about the conditions yesterday. Roach, you know, when he was giving interviews at the finish line, was really saying he was almost beaten before he stepped off the bus yesterday by looking out at the conditions, and the drop in temperature wasn't to his liking at all. Of course, Roach and Contador have worked together. Roach has been a support rider for Alberto Contador in the past. We expected Contador to do this in what remains of the Vuelta. Maybe not today, though, so something of a surprise.
We're repeatedly seeing this when we think the race is shut down behind. One of the big guns go, and it's great for us, for spectators, but for the Thai guys in the peloton, it's horrible. You think the day's done, you can just sit back, and the GC team's just going to take you home at a nice controlled pace, and all of a sudden you see Alberto Contador attack off the front. It's it's not pleasant in the slightest.
One of the Sky riders has been sent. It's not Moscon, is it?
Probably seems to do everything. It's been called back, so
yeah. Let them go.
Well, they can just control it as a team. There's no point in them going up the road. It would be if they were chasing the stage win and just let him go and take the stage, but is there better just to call him back? I don't think, maybe he didn't realise that he didn't have the team on his wheel anymore. But this is a plan. This is a move that Alberto Contador and Nicolas Roche, I'm sure, will have spoken to each other about in the peloton. I'm not sure how far out, how instantaneous it was. Sometimes it can just be coming up next to you and saying, do you want to go, I'm going to attack, or a few kilometres ago, or even this morning. So you just never know with a move like this, but they're going to crack on, and that's it. We're getting a real sense of Alberto Contador. He's out there. We always know he has fun racing, but he really is having fun at this Vuelta. Nicolas Roche is now blown off the wheel of Alberto Contador.
Yeah. It was a high-risk move, that, really, wasn't it, for Roche to go with that Contador attack?
Yeah, it's, I mean, you've got to try.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alberto Contador, this just shows how well Alberto Contador's going at the moment. The fact he can do that, blow Nicolas Roche off his wheel, and then distance and put the peloton in trouble. I mean, that's down to what, 20 riders, 25 riders, if that, and only Chris Froome's mountain guard left around him.
And all the number ones, wasn't it?
Yeah,
all the number ones. And yesterday's stage victor as well, Miguel Angel Lopez.
So Moscon, once again, doing a great job. There's 21 riders there. So that's Alberto Contador, who's once again
seconds
shocked everybody into a horrible state, because, as I said, they would have just been quite enjoying a semi-pedestrian day for the peloton, and now it's turned into a full-on race once more. And I think they can expect this every day here, because, I mean, look at the distance he's put into them. That goes to show how well Alberto Contador's going. So that, again, there he goes, crossing over the top. So that's Machinsky's now gone over the top of the climb. Now he's got his individual pursuit to the finish line, which, with his gap of, what is it, nearly a minute now, he stands a very good chance. And here's Alberto Contador once more. So he's got about 28, 30 seconds, is it? It's, yeah, so it's 20, 33, 37 seconds.
Well, Alberto Contador is doing what Alberto Contador does and what we've expected him to do, but he's doing it perhaps in unexpected circumstances, and that's the result, a peloton that is reduced to all the number ones and the favourites. How much time will Alberto Contador gain on this stage today, if any? So Alberto Contador, look at the time gaps now, continuing to grow. 8:22 back from the lead, and the peloton are at 9:05. So he's got about more than 45 seconds that he's gained, and that's starting to become a little bit significant. Not so much for Chris Froome, as the chase group now go over, a minute or so down on Thomas Marcinski. That's starting to become significant because he is threatening now 8th position for Michael Woods in GC. But then after that, there are so many riders, as you were talking about with Gary yesterday, David, in the studio. There are so many riders bunched around very, very closely.
So a fan has just ran across the road, right in front of the motorbike there. Goes to show us Moscon's now blown up, so he's down to 2 riders. So Alberto Contador's doing a phenomenal ride here.
But he's going to get in the mix fairly soon from that group from Chavez to Aru. Is that Woods?
Nope,
that's from Brendan Canty further up the road, yeah. It's come off on the descent.
So the pressure's working. Look at the strength of that wind as well. So I think it's going to be a bit of a tailwind. And there's a motorbike, the neutral service. So it's that guy in the green T-shirt that ran across the road to support Alberto Contador and ran right in front of the motorbike.
Well, mercifully, all that group of favourites haven't clashed with that
So
bike.
this is working out perfect. Alberto Contador, here he is. He's got to get as much time as he can. So he's still got about 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes till he gets to the top of this climb, or less actually speed he's going at. He's got to drag out as much of a gap as he can and put Team Sky in as much trouble as possible, as he's doing. There's only 2 riders left, 1 rider left. I think David Lopez, who's hanging on the back of that group, has got to try and get on there. But as you were talking about the fact that he's threatening, I think we're just going to see a crash here. There's Kanti on the front.
Yep. That's the corner.
He's just coming way too fast. Yeah, he just overshot it.
And head over.
He's okay
well.
though. That wasn't such a bad crash. But yes, as you said, the thing is, because he's moving up and threatening so many of those places in top 10, there could be some riders that need to chase, but they've got no teammates left because he's gone so hard, Alberto Contador. He's blown out all the domestiques apart from Team Sky's. Now, there might be 1 or 2 others, but not really, that will want to chase him down. So he's got to get that gap, because then, obviously, that group, if they do start riding, are going to have an advantage over Alberto Contador. Unless the wind does become a little bit of a cross headwind, but it is a bit chopping and changing, direction's changing. He's just got to hope he gets more tailwind, because if he does, then that's going to put him in the perfect position.
Just eating into his hard-fought time gap at the moment, just pegging it back a little bit, back to around about 34, 35 seconds. So it shrunk by about 10 seconds. It's hard work. Marcinski continues his solo descent. 12.6 kilometres to go. On the descent, particularly this part where you can see it's actually so steep that there's no point in pedalling. He's just got himself tucked onto the frame. They are not going to make big gains on Marcinski. It's when the road does flatten out in the last few kilometres before the finish line, that's when these 4 have got a chance, albeit an outside chance, because 58 seconds is an awfully big gap to close. But that's when it will twist and come back in their favour in terms of getting over to Marcinski.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how fast that descent was. We're at 86 kilometres an hour. You can't really pedal that fast, so they are just in those aero tucks. And as you say, that gap's not going to change much during that descent. It's only when they come off. There is a little bit of a kicker in the middle of the descent, and then it flattens out even more.
Wout is bringing Contador back. Look at the time gap now. Just a fraction over, that's 25 seconds now. Contador beginning to pay for this effort. And this is where he really could have done with Nico Roach as that ally, but Roach just couldn't live with the acceleration of Alberto Contador on that climb.
No, I don't think there are many bike riders in the world that could have lived with that acceleration from Alberto Contador. So no shame for Nicolas Roach. He's just got to hope that he didn't get blown out of this group. So I'm not sure if I want to get a closer picture to see if he managed to hang on, because he went so far into the red. And with Wout Powell's acceleration there, I'm not sure if he'll have had a chance to recover.
Got to believe that this was worth it. Alberto Contador has still got a gap, a decent, healthy size gap, and this will be inspiring him as well. It's been a feature of the Vuelta, hasn't it, all the way around so far. I mean, the cameras pick them out as and when they can, but the messages on the tarmac by the side of the road from the Spanish cycling public, as they know that this is the last time they're going to see Alberto Contador race the Vuelta, he will be inspired by that. Doesn't always strike you as an emotional type, Contador, but I think deep down this does matter to him.
Here for Polianski, I think he's got a front puncture. Yeah, front puncture, so you can't really ride on that on a descent like this. He's going to have to stop.
Well, that's bad luck. Contador is catching and passing Michael Murcu from the original breakaway.
Now he does have Toynes up here, so that's going to be perfect.
Well remembered, Edward Toynes is still there.
There he is.
Now Alberto Contador is about to make the junction with one of the riders who's in the original breakaway. His teammate Edward Toynes, the sprinter, will have been informed and perfectly well aware that Alberto Contador was in the on the attack, on the offensive, and he would have conserved as much energy as possible and waited for this moment where his team leader gets onto him. Now Toynes has to do a real job here for Contador and help him.
Yeah, it's Contador, he can descend. That's a sprinter, Toynes, and Alberto Contador just comes barreling by him. Now, they timed that to perfection, because Toynes would have known he was coming up, but he had to get over the climb before Alberto Contador. Otherwise, Alberto would have just gone flying by him. So he must have had his own personal battle to get to the top, because he was just 50 metres ahead of that summit when Alberto Contador came up to him. And there's no better guy for Alberto Contador to have now. Look at the size of him, and he is a sprinter. He can go incredibly fast, and he now has his own time trial to do to drag Alberto, and that's the worst case scenario for Team Sky, in the sense that they probably would have expected that, and and for those other riders, perfect.
Well, Edward Turns is driving Alberto Contador up the road, trying to eke out every possible seconds advantage from this very exciting attack from a very exciting rider. Turns and Contador from Trek Segafredo on the offensive, and everyone else is chasing. Lone figure of Tomasz Maciński, all alone on the road. And is he possibly now already thinking about his victory celebration? Are we jumping the gun slightly to suggest that he's got this race won? 7 kilometres to go for Tomasz Maciński, 3 riders chasing him down. Further back down the road, this pair have got together, Edward Turns and Alberto Contador.
And he's dragging it back out again already.
Oh, Froome's off the road.
So he must have gone down there. Wow.
Has he got once again? As we saw on the Tour de France, these kind of things happen to Chris Froome. Any sign of rips to his shorts?
And the team car must be there. Yeah,
computer's come off the bike change required. Where's it going to come from? It's so prepped, it's got red bar tape on, so it's his bike. So.
And remember what we were saying, this is where Alberto Contador is a genius. He forces these errors by putting this race under such stress. And that's going to slow that whole group down because Team Sky are going to stop riding. This is a massive benefit. Look, immediately 47 seconds now has gone up. So he's going to take another minute. It's going to be a minute or so in no time.
Oh, and he's off.
Again.
Now he's down.
Down again. So this road is very slippy and I think he's just panicking. He's got to hope that bike's fine, because let's remember, his other bike's gone. Now, here we go. No, the car stops, so it's fine. It's not the car's fault. What front wheel goes? Yep, it's slippy. He's on the wrong line. He's just gone a bit too fast into there.
Was that because of the traffic and having to take an
not really.
wide line?
Sometimes you get on a spare bike and the tyre pressure is slightly different, right, and you've just been accustomed to riding on one tyre pressure on another bike. And we have seen people slipping and sliding a bit on these roads. These roads are infamous for that down in South Spain. And now that's 9:14, so it's a minute now, minute and 16 seconds Alberto Contador's got. He's eating away at it.
Never mind Alberto Contador, what is Vincenzo Nibali doing right now? You know what I mean? So where the rest of the group will know exactly what's going on, and where are the Team Sky riders who were in this group? And most importantly, where's the red jersey?
Need that clear helicopter shot to get closer, see what's happening. But you know what? That's rider error. They can ride, go. I mean, it's Chris Froome. If you can't control his bike and crashes, then they have the right to ride.
Well, we saw that with the last Grand Tour that Vincenzo Nibali prized away from his greatest rival in the leader's jersey. That was on the Giro d'Italia last year when Steven Kruijswijk, in much more dramatic circumstances, went off the road, and that's when Nibali took control of the bike race. And I'm not suggesting that's going to happen today, but once again, this is
trying to hold on Edward Turns' wheel. He's just absolutely flat out. That's why it's so valuable for him to have him there. Now, look, everyone's going. That's Chavez is going. So, yeah, it's in their interest. They can do this. They have the right.
And in the meantime, Alberto Contador started this all off in the first place on what looked like it would be an entirely routine day. We were even talking about the possibility that in the GC group, in the main peloton, David, we'd see them just roll over the top of that climb and just literally call a truce and have a complete day off. He changed the script again.
Once again, he is constantly ripping up the script. And if you were to tell him at the beginning today that he's got 1 minute 12 seconds on Chris Froome, I mean, that's crazy. So, and then the group likely 40 seconds on all the other guys, 50 seconds. So, yeah, this is an amazing move by Alberto Contador.
Inside the final kilometre, 500 metres to go for Tomasz Maciński. Now, who'd have said this? This is why the Vuelta's special, and it's different, David. You go into this 3-week Grand Tour, and you never in a million years would have put a mark alongside the name of Tomasz Maciński and said he will be a 2-time stage winner before the end of the 2nd week. But he's made his mark, he's taken his opportunity, he's done what Thomas de Gent is famous for in the colours of Lotto Soudal, and he is riding solo, unopposed, towards a famous 2nd win. 6 days or 6 stages after his first ever Grand Tour victory. Tomasz Maciński is having the ride of his life, and Alberto Contador and Trek Segafredo have ignited, fascinatingly, a race behind them. But this moment does belong to the stage winner. He attacked who's by far the best on the climb, and that's where he did the damage. He has held on to a big advantage over the line. He's done it again. Tomasz Maciński points at his team colours, points to the sky, and takes the applause rightfully of the crowd here in Spain. A fantastic celebration from a rider you might not have heard of before the Vuelta got underway, but you have now. Tomasz Maciński, a double stage winner on the Vuelta. And now Bahrain Merida's Franco Pellizotti is doing everything that he can to continue to hurt the red jersey of Chris Froome. He passes through 7 kilometres to go, and that group is being driven on, and still they haven't got onto the back of it. Will they ever? Will they get on at all before the finish line? Even that is questionable at this point. And in the meantime, off the front of that Nibali group, Toons and Contador continue to hurtle towards the finish line, absolutely flat-out racing.
Well, it goes to show in a Grand Tour, a rider like Alberto Contador, he understands. It's why, for his generation, he's the greatest Grand Tour racer. He never gives up, much like this man. Chris Froome never gives up either, but he tends to get himself in some tricky situations.
This is the battle for second place. Omar Fraile is going to win the sprint over JJ Rojas. Fraile is frustrated by that. Poljanski picks up another valuable 4th place, and Steph Clement rolling over in 5th place. Now, Team Sky, well, Chris Froome was doing what you suggested and taking responsibility, but he's still got those riders to work with. There's
Yeah, the motorbike's just getting in the way. They just had to just avoiding it. That's ridiculous.
There's Chavez Pelazzotti, one of the 2 Astana riders. Wilco Kelderman is still there. Vincenzo Nibali, Ilnur Zakarin. No information on our screens about what the time gap looks like, so just fix a point on the road if you can and try and measure it for yourself. They're getting onto the back of the convoy now.
Yeah, that's the roundabout they just rode over.
So feels like about 20-25 seconds. You could actually see the tyre marks in the grass there, where 2 or 3 riders have gone over the centre of the roundabout. Edward Toons, not the day that he thought he would have.
No.
When he got in that breakaway, you thought happy days. And he looked around him and he looked at the other 13 riders and went, if I can get over the climb, I've won the stage. Starting to think perhaps about his celebration. But instead, he got dropped on the climb, and then it turned into an entirely different day for him.
And but it turned for the team, it turned into a dream scenario. This has worked out perfectly for Alberto Contador, and it has certainly thrown the race up in the air.
Looking back, feels to me, and the information I'm getting is that it's relatively stable, the gap on the road. So the big Nibali group is holding off the red jersey by about 25 seconds at the moment as things stand.
So Toons has now exploded, so he's done everything he can, and Alberto's got to take those final 3 kilometres on his own.
Doesn't sound like much, does it?
No, you've got to just hope that if he's, I suppose the only thing that's the worst case scenario for him really was that this happened to Chris Froome, because now that's motivated that group to push on. Otherwise it would have been left to the 2 Sky riders to just bring it home, and he could have probably kept putting time into them. But now it's turned into a full-on flat-out race behind him.
And you can see the grazing to his jersey on his left shoulder. That's another factor as well, not just the fatigue and the unexpected expenditure of energy that he's having to endure on stage 12, but he'll be bruised, because that was quite a low speed impact, wasn't it? One of those nasty falls.
Fortunately, the road is so slippy though that he did seem to just slide, so there wasn't a sort of sudden body slam.
Although you think he might have gone down twice.
I think he went down twice.
Cameron didn't see the first fall,
or he at least went off the road. But the fact he had to have a bike change, that first one would indicate that he crashed his bike.
Yeah. Gear side down possibly, because he was kind of looking down at his mech, wasn't he? 2 kilometres now for Alberto Contador, time trialling his way to the finish line, and that's exactly what it is. It is a time trial now for Alberto Contador. Started the day in 9th place in the general classification, 3:55 down on the red jersey. The red jersey's not under threat. He's got 42 seconds over Nibali, and the Froome group, as you can see, is 16 seconds behind the Nibali group at the moment. So Contador's got around about a minute on the red jersey, so that would move him up theoretically to 6th or 7th on GC. This is the Nibali group, and these
Aru now riding, so
Fabio Aru on the front and taking their responsibility, as you said. Like Contador, like Froome, driving that group on.
So 17 seconds. He's bringing it back now. I mean, he can go very deep now in these final 2Ks. Just try not to crash again, which I'm sure his team car behind is going to be very nervous about every corner.
Well, in similar circumstances, we saw TJ Van Garderen on the Vuelta crashing on one of those, just one in the final, didn't we, on a roundabout there. Partly fatigue, I suppose, coming into play, mental and physical.
Well, he did it twice in a row as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
As Toons has just gone straight through, going straight through that group now. So Nicholas Roach did survive it, so he is in the middle of that group.
Better day for Roach, better day for all these riders. There is the Flamme Rouge, 1 kilometre to go when they hit that banner. Contador went through it some 35 seconds ago.
So now Nibali's right, and they're all riding now.
Nibali's organising it as well, isn't he? Making sure each rider does their turn. Sensing that that red jersey was closing in. Just asking those committed riders just to do one more big effort now. 1 kilometre to go. Nibali has gone through around about 5, 6, 7 seconds ago. So hovering, I think he's brought it back. It's certainly not the 25-second gap that it was. A little bit more like 10, 12 seconds. 16 seconds, in fact, through the Flamme Rouge. Now then, Contador coming towards the finish line. He has done exactly what we expected him to do. He just didn't do it on the day that we expected him to do it, if that makes sense. I wish he'd be more kind of predictable with his unexpected racing.
Well, I think he is predictable with his unpredictable.
There's some sense in that sentence somewhere. But it's been good to watch Alberto Contador on the attack and regaining time, getting stronger as this Vuelta goes on. What would it have been if he hadn't sustained those big losses on stage 3 in Andorra when he was unwell? Because this is a man on some substantial form. He comes to the line now, and we start the stopwatch is ticking as he crosses the line. 7.5 minutes or thereabouts down on Thomas Marcinski and that brilliant stage win. And here come the Nibali group.
Well, that's been a phenomenal ride that he's still managed to hold off this group when you think about how hard they've been going to keep Chris Froome away from them, and still they couldn't catch Alberto Contador.
They stopped the clock some 21 seconds after Alberto Contador, and now Froome. So the Nibali group came over 21 seconds down, and at the moment that's 10. Coming up to about, it'll be about 15, 16 seconds, I think. Maybe closer to 20. 19 seconds we make it unofficially as the red jersey rolls over the line, and he would not have been expecting at all to lose time today. But once again, these things that happened to Chris Froome in the leader's jersey on Grand Tours have struck again. He survived, but there'll be questions asked about whether or not that will have cost him in terms of fatigue and what damage he might have done to his own morale and possibly to his body, because he did certainly go down once or twice. So Chris Froome, under pressure, has survived in the race lead.
And with his race lead cut by less than it might have been. Here's the stage result, which was very much the secondary action of the day, although not, of course, for Thomas Marcinski. He had 52 seconds over the chasing quartet of Fraile, Rojas, Poljanski and Clement. 12 of the original breakaway riders finished ahead of the field. 13th was Alberto Contador, 22 seconds ahead of the group containing the rest of the top 10 overall minus Chris Froome. Froome himself was another 20 seconds down after being paced back by Mikel Nieve and Wout Poels. If Alberto Contador had had two teammates up the road to pace him, he'd have taken even more time. But the one man he had did a good job.
Edward, that was a fantastic piece of teamwork. How much of it was planned this morning and how much of it was improvised during the stage?
Not so much was planned in the morning, but it's always good to have someone in the break. And on a stage like this, you know, you can be important over the last climb because it's a downhill and there are some sections we could push a bit. So there I could really help him, and I really fast saw that the last climb was too hard for me, and then I heard Alberto was coming, so I waited on the top of the last climb for him, and then we just went full on the limit in the downhill, and I'm happy I could help him as much as possible. But I'm happy he takes back some time.
Ma il tempo guadagnato sicuramente è stato perché Froome è caduto, quindi perché stava facendo un grande lavoro la Sky all'inseguimento, quindi è un tempo guadagnato, però non è un tempo guadagnato perché si è staccato. E poi Froome è sempre Froome.
Vincenzo, dopo la caduta di Froome sembrava che si aspettasse comunque per qualche minuto, un paio di minuti, e poi si accelerasse.
10 chilometri dall'arrivo si aspetta? 10 chilometri?
No, sembrava che comunque c'è Contador, il vantaggio di Contador non è salito.
Stiamo per aspettare, Alberto guadagna ancora qualche minuto e ha dimostrato oggi di essere più forte ed è pericoloso. Era per tutti nello stesso intento andare a recuperare il gap sul Contador.
Well, Thomas Marcinski's first Grand Tour stage win exceeded all his expectations, but that was last week and his expectations have been extended in the wake of it.
I keep calm until the last climb. Then I want to see the other riders from the breakaway how they are doing. And then when I feel the moment I was feel strong, I decide to try attack alone. And when I see that I took already 20 seconds, I said now I go full until the end. And I try to win the stage alone. I made it.
Now, once again, Davide Villela did not get in the break and picked up no mountain points. JJ Rojas did and moves up to second in the climbers' standings. Pavel Poljanski, meanwhile, is up to third in the points competition behind Chris Froome and Matteo Trentin. After the race, it was confirmed that Chris Froome did come off his bike twice. The helicopter shot here just catches up with him as he's going down on a bend. That led to the bike change we saw at the time. And the bike change with its new tyres probably contributed to crash number 2. As he crossed the line, the rip in his shorts and bloody right knee were visible, and his physical condition was the first thing to establish when Daniel Friebe spoke to him.
Chris, if we didn't know you'd crash, we'd be able to see from the patches on your legs. Just tell us exactly what happened in both of those circumstances.
Yeah, just lost my front wheel. Just one of those things happened. Unfortunately, I mean, you can never predict circumstances like that, and we just had to deal with it the best we could. I was thankful enough to have Mikel Nieve and Wild Pools with me at the end to try and limit the losses there to the Nibali group. I think all in all, just grateful that I'm not more seriously injured, just lost a bit of skin.
Are you hurt in any way that might compromise your performance over the next few days?
Hope not. I mean, we'll have to see over the next few days. I mean, of course, sleeping on grazes is never too much fun, but just have to make do now. And as I said, I'm just grateful it's not more serious.
Now, Chris Froome wasn't the day's only casualty. We saw a neutral service motorbike brought down by a fan. As it turned out from phone pictures that emerged later, the fan was actually pushed in front of the bike by a policeman who was trying to clear him out of the road. That was a case of unintended consequences, but this was just outrageous. A fan deliberately pushing Katusha's Maxim Belkov into a barrier. And the end result of all the day's drama was this, as far as the top of the standings are concerned. Vincenzo Nibali now within a minute of Chris Froome, just. The rest of the top 10 all move up 20 seconds too, with the exception of Alberto Contador, who took back 42 today. So he's still comfortably in red as far as timing goes, Chris Froome, but slightly less comfortably, as indicated by the large plasters on both knees.